Welcome back to another episode of How to Become an Obstacle Buster. I'm your host, Warren Wandling, the show that's dedicated to bringing leaders and entrepreneurs strategies, tips, and resources to overcome their obstacles, to build resilience, and achieve success. Hey, if this is your first time listening or you've been part of our community for a while, thank you for tuning in today. Before I introduce you to my guest today, I want to make sure that you're aware of a new resource to help you to be resilient. It's our private Facebook community called Leadership with Purpose. So you can either search in groups in Facebook and search Leadership with Purpose. And I'll also make sure that link is in the show notes as well. In our community, I share strategies, tips, and resources so you can step into less stress, greater profit, and experience the work you love. It's also a great place to connect with other like-minded leaders. So I look forward to seeing you in our community. Our sponsor for the show today is Audible. If you love listening to podcasts, I know you're going to love Audible like I do. It's a great way to be able to listen to books that you want to read this year. So if you're not already subscribed to Audible, let me get you a free book and a free 30-day trial. The book that I recommend is The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. By simply visiting warrenwandling.com/audible, you can grab your free book and your free 30-day trial to Audible. Again, that's warrenwandling.com/audible. WARRENWANDLING.com/AUDIBLE. I have a great guest with me today, Dan Portik. He was born in a rural area outside of Cleveland, Ohio. At an early age, he found himself drawn to music, and then later in life, he added sales and marketing to his skill set. As a Christian business owner for over 3 decades, Dan has had extensive experience in running successful marketing and video production companies. Over the years, Dan has sold millions of dollars in advertising and video production services and has worked with some of the largest companies in the world to help develop marketing elements that have garnered measurable results. Recently, he has started to share his knowledge of sales, marketing, and online negotiating through authoring and co-authoring a series of books. Some are currently published and several are in the works. Dan has also partnered with the renowned sales trainer Tom Hopkins to co-author the best-selling book on prospecting and selling with social media called Fill Your Funnel. In addition, his new book, The Secret Door, outlines in detail all the successful online techniques he has used over the years to reach and negotiate with almost anyone at any level of status. Well, welcome to the show, Dan.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, as you probably know, on How to Become an Obstacle Buster podcast, we share with our listeners, leaders and entrepreneurs, how to overcome their obstacles, build resilience, and achieve success. So to start that conversation today, as the best-selling author and president of BVS Film Productions, BVCS Productions, LLC, tell us about your business.
Sure. BVS Film Productions is a full-service video production and video content marketing company. We found a nice niche going between, let's say, a freelancer and then a full-blown advertising agency. There's been a lot of bigger companies that we deal with where we'll go in and they'll say, hey, we've got a full staff internally. However, we can't get the jobs done in time. Mm-hmm. We need a group to come in and kind of be like a strike force and come in and do projects. So that's been kind of our niche over the past couple of years.
Oh, excellent. So what is the greatest obstacle that your clients encounter?
Well, obviously the elephant in the room right now is COVID-19.
Yes.
Even with COVID-19, there are opportunities to work around that. But everybody's been talking, the 3 months off. They all took 3 months off and said,
mm-hmm.
You have to regroup for the most part. So that's been an obstacle. However, they're all starting to come back now, which is kind of nice. When dealing with my company, some of the obstacles that occur are time. Time seems to be the big one, because a lot of the enterprise companies have certain budgets that they deal with. And so that's not the issue, but time is it's such a limit for them, and it's such a commodity that they're more concerned about getting projects done on time than they are, whatever the budget is at that point.
So that's so time in reference, is it like backburnered as a project? Like they know the importance of video and the exposure, but they just don't, is there value in reference to just taking that level of effort?
Yeah. So, from that standpoint, it does get backburner, but really there's like schedules they have. So like my biggest customer, for example, they'll come to me and they have a schedule of maybe 50 videos that need to get done, and they're all specific time frames. So it's pretty important on their end that they have these for their boss to, they look at that and go, hey, I have to have these done in this time. And it goes back to their internal staff that either has been laid off because of COVID or, whatever it might be. So they need to get these things done no matter what. And a lot of them have been COVID videos, and see them everywhere, So from our business, that's kind of like the opportunity that comes out of this, if you will.
Right, exactly, because everybody has to rebrand and be tone sensitive to what's going on with COVID.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what was the strategy that contributed to your success building your business?
Well, you know what? The biggest part about it was building strong relationships. That I think would probably be the most important thing. Working with customers, especially when you're starting out in business, you have to build these relationships through trust. So even if you're making mistakes along the way, whatever it might be, you have a friend on the other side that you're dealing with. It's not, this, opposing force that you're working against. And that, I can't tell you how many times has pulled us out of the fire for things that may not even have been our issue, for that matter. Another thing is the word can't does not exist in my business, and it never will in my eyes, as long as I'm 6 feet above the ground. And that, it'll never leave my lips in front of a customer. We'll always find a way to get something done. If I can't do it, someone is going to do it. And that goes back to that trust level. They know that even in my last agency, they knew I had a much bigger agency many years ago. They knew we were the go-to guys. So you need to get it done. It's going to get done one way or another, whether you work 24 hours, it's going to get done. So that's a plus. And then the last part of this is I just stir the pot. And to me, that's just when it gets slow or you have slow times, especially with this COVID thing. My wife and I always talk about that. She says, have you stirred the pot today? It's prospecting and, doing things that are making things come to the top, and that it always works. If you stir the pot here today, tomorrow something's going to happen over here. It's just the way the world is. It's the sales world.
Yeah, I love that analogy of stirring the pot. At least that's something that our listeners can do active, like if things aren't moving, like go back to the basics, right?
Correct. And to be honest with you, during this time that was slow for the past 3 months, my company probably put out 55 videos, around 55 videos. So we continue to put out promotional videos, and everybody's going, what are you doing? I'm like, just go there. We're going to the studio. We're doing it today, and we're just going to keep making these things. And now I'm starting to see the repercussions of that, because people are starting to go, okay, I'm coming back. Wow, I saw you here. You don't even realize where they saw the videos, but they know they're out there and they keep getting pushed out there. So
exactly. You also mentioned another key point, Dan, in reference to the word can't. And I think around that, for our listeners, that's a mindset that leaders or entrepreneurs need to embrace. How did you develop that attitude or mindset around you're not going to embrace can't? Yeah,
that was primarily Tom Hopkins.
Oh, yeah.
He was my mentor growing up, and that's a word he doesn't believe in either. So it just stuck. It's stuck over the years.
Yeah, that's a great mindset. And there's a lot of great teachings from Tom that we all can pull from.
Right. Focus, follow through. Those are the two big ones.
Yeah. Oh, very good. Yeah. Focus, follow through. So you've authored a number of your books, including the one Fill Your Funnel, which you co-authored with Tom Hopkins. But most recently you wrote the book. It's a new book entitled The Secret Online Door. So what was the inspiration that led you to write this book?
Well, over the years, I've used these specific techniques that have allowed me to get to people like Tom Hopkins and higher up people that of high status, if you will, and really get what I want out of a negotiation or whatever it might be. And Tom was really the one that that whole scenario was the one that kind of made this into something like, people need to know about this. This will help a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So that process of reaching these people and being able to negotiate with them, and then in his case, I talked to him. We wrote a best-selling book, and now I'm on to all kinds of different things with him. It's been a journey, and it's just grown, exploded, which is great.
Yeah, excellent. So within the secret door, the secret online door, can you kind of explain what the secret online door is, and if there's a key? I assume maybe there's a key of opening that door. Maybe you can just share with our listeners possibly what that would look like. Yeah.
So with this secret online door, it's considered a proverbial door. It's not a real door. It's a virtual door that you'll go through. But what it really is 5 basic things that you need to do, 5 basic ingredients that you need to have to be able to go anywhere online and reach almost anyone at any level and negotiate what you want from it.
Mm-hmm.
I have those 5 points if you want to hear, kind of go through them.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so step 1 is your online profile. I mean, before you can do anything and meet with anybody, anywhere, you have to look the part. Now, if you're someone like Mark Cuban or, Bill Gates, you don't have to look the part. You're already there.
Mm-hmm.
But the average person, you have to be at that level with, your visuals, whatever it might be. You can't go talk to a vice president I can't word, but it's in good context here.
Yeah.
You can't really go talk to a VP of marketing if you're sitting in your backyard, drinking a beer in a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Going to fly. So, that's step 1. And a good way to really know what your profile looks like is go find a friend out there and ask them to see if they can find any dirt on you.
Mm.
A good friend, someone you trust, and that's a good way to kind of get the feel for, if your profile's good or not. The next thing you need to do is you have to know who you want to talk to in a negotiation. So in many cases, when people do any type of negotiation online or try to reach somebody, they reach a certain level of person. Those are only going to work so hard. However, there are people much higher that you can get to online that you couldn't get to in conventional environments for the most part, on a door or phone call. And they do have the keys. They have the keys to the lock that you want to get through that door. And so that's number 2, knowing who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Third one is to know what you want from a negotiation, and knowing what you want. If you go into a negotiation not knowing what you want, you're going to take whatever that other person will give you in many cases, and you kind of get caught on your heels. So you need to know that, and it really will help you in the negotiation, moving forward, knowing that you want something like that. And then, the next thing is forging the right message, a message that's going to be simple to the point, and it's not going to have any fluff in it beyond what is necessary to build that intrigue for the person on the other end of your negotiation. And it has to have something that they want out of this as well. So if it's a negotiation where you're trying to get something, they need to know that their part of it may be just to get everything resolved out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the last thing is fearless, to be fearless. To not have a fear of pushing that send button. And that was probably the biggest one for me when I was doing Hopkins book. Before I went and sent that email on, I'd like to write a book with you, went through my head. How dare I,
Yeah.
I'm over here. But I took my hand and I went, and that was the best thing that ever happened to me in the business world. So those are your 5 techniques. Those are the 5 things ingredients you need to reach anybody, get whatever you want out of your online communication.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Dan. Those are great
Pleasure.
5s. I've really enjoyed the book myself, reading the book. I read it in a weekend. It's really just great content to be able to connect with anybody that you want to, as you say.
Thanks.
Within that, I love the fearless, because I could see how that could show up even for the first step, which is profile. Someone thinking, well, is it really worth the time to build my profile? I mean, am I really going to be able to connect with anybody?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any specific strategies that just help someone get into action to taking those steps?
Yeah. So the first one is know what kind of fear that you have. Mm-hmm. And there are, I have a little sheet I'm going to get together and send over to you, but it basically defines 5 or 6 of the basic fears out there. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of the unknown, fear of physical harm. There's intimidation. There are many fears, and you first have to know what fear you have, and some of the differentiators beyond that, and then take action. I mean, once you know those fears, what they are, some people can take big action. Some people can, go and just jump in and really face those fears, but other ones may have to do things like take a different route home for more, just to get comfortable with little things and then build on that to whatever you really want to do. But I've always found action is like the number one thing. Start by taking action, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's amazing how action will eliminate fear, because now you have new data.
Yeah, that's absolutely. And I've working with Tom and on this other project I'm doing, we've had an opportunity to interview people like Sharon Lechter and some really big people out there, and all of them have the same mantra. They all say, "Do what you fear most." Yeah, and that is their. They all look me in the eyes and say it too. It's great. So.
Yeah, that is so great. That's a great for our listeners, because there's something that they're fearing. Go do that to move you forward, to be able to unlock this secret online door.
Right. And you'd be surprised how many people don't realize they're afraid of success. And all the trappings that may come along with that, and the decisions that come along with that. So there's indicators for that too.
Right. I know I've used your strategies prior, like with even reaching out for myself, having Tom Hopkins on the show and others, by using these strategies that you teach. So they definitely work, of being able to connect with the people that you need to connect with.
Right.
So part of in chapter 10 in your book, The Secret Online Door, you share with your readers how they can use the secret door for employment. So if one of our listeners, if they find themselves, certainly since we're dealing with COVID or any other reasons, they find themselves laid off, or they want to advance their career, what's the first step they should take with the secret online door of employment?
Yeah, so it goes back to those 5 different ingredients. The main one in that situation is, before you can even reach out to anybody, is that online profile. You've got to that is squeaky clean, no matter what you do. I can't say how many. I would say almost all employers, when they get close to making a decision, they go to your social network and they check out on your social network. I've had experiences where we were hiring a marketing manager here, and I think it might be in that book. There's another one I did that has this in it, but we actually went through the whole process. Everything was great, and then we went on her Facebook page. And on the first page of her Facebook page, she was sitting on a couch passing a pipe of some substance around. So, it could have been anything. I don't know. It could have been. But unfortunately, the average person is going to look at it and think of it's going to be something that is illegal or some kind of substance. And it automatically puts someone in a bad light, in that situation. Never knowing what happened, that it's an issue. Those kind of things are issues that you would just automatically assume. So that I would say is like step 1. And then if you follow those other steps to the end, that's when it comes to the actual finding the right person, you need to get past all those seas of resumes that everybody else is doing out there. And part of that is being able to go in and find the person that can actually be the decision maker. And in many cases, you need to go to the owner of the company or the vice president, for example. People, owners of businesses, they like people that are bold, or they like people that are aggressive for their company. And the way to do that is to use some of these techniques to just go right over that sea of resumes and put the right message in front of the right person.
Yeah, exactly. I love that illustrate the mindset of being bold, because that's where some of that fear can appear, right? If you're looking for a job, if one of our listeners, they go, yeah, I just can't reach out to the president but that's the mindset you need to change is they need you. And so you need to connect with the right person. They want to hear from you.
Yeah, it's the confidence, having that confidence. And it may not just be the president. You may need to go and this happens a lot in this book. It talks about not only reaching the president, but go for the vice president, marketing manager. The more the merrier. If you put 10 of those resumes out to those higher ups, the word's going to get around of who you are. Good or bad, that word's going to get around. They're going to know you. So
yeah, exactly. So you're right, connecting with more than just like the higher up, and the one that's the hiring manager, connecting with that individual as well, but having more people exposed to who you are.
Right, and the reason I say this because I personally done this twice myself. In between two companies, I've actually went out and did this, and I got hired as I think it was a regional manager. And I never even spoke to the guy. It was one of those things that was my profile was online. We sent it, and I've done that twice until I wanted to go back and be my own boss again.
Yeah.
It works. I definitely know it works.
Right. It definitely does work. And you definitely get ahead of the all the resumes that are submitted to what we call the normal channels to be able to put your resume ahead of the rest of those applicants.
Correct.
So trust, though, is really big. Trust is important in growing a strong network. What is the best strategy that you use to help build trust?
To help build trust, my best strategy is back to focus and follow through. So no matter what happens, that word can't isn't in there. Make sure that when you say you're going to do something, you do it. You do it on time. And if you can't do it on time, you go back and you tell the person, here's the reasons. But, the way I guess I equate this to is when you're working with a customer, you have a series of hoops you'll need to jump through as a vendor, starting at this one, maybe it might be a delivery or whatever it might be. And each one gets a little more difficult, time frame. And if you can make it to that top hoop and become that go-to person, you're kind of in this promised land where it's about, numbers or anything. It's about, can you do it? Can you get this done in time for me? Versus, how much is it going to cost? So for me, that's always been the thing. You got to earn it. No matter what you do, you have to earn it. And being a professional salesperson and learning learning the process of sales is one of the biggest factors there. There's a lot to it, but caring about that customer is a big deal.
Yeah, I love that entry point that you share in building trust, because all of our listeners on the call, they can do that level, right? If they say they're going to show up a meeting or they're going to return a call at a certain date, that they just simply need to follow through.
Right. And then the other side of that coin is I would lose all automated messages. I don't know if you go through the same thing I go through with automated messages that come in, but there are so many sales that are being lost right now by people that send these out. And I'll answer saying, I'm interested in doing business with you, only to be followed up by another automated message that had nothing to do with what they're talking about.
Oh, yeah. Right.
So there's so many things out there that are being taught that are completely against the timeless things that do work. Crazy.
Yeah, exactly. The other day I was having a conversation with another client in reference to that same point, that to be able to position yourself to scale your business, you first have to do things that are not scalable.
Right. And, if you're Dell, that's a different story. You have certain levels. They have the technology down that they can handle things to get an order through. But when you're dealing with people, you got to be a people person, especially on your first orders.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. In references, being a person and be authentic, because that's what people want, is somebody that they know they can connect with instead of
Right.
just the process.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
So one of the things I believe that success leaves clues, and one of those clues are the books that successful people read. So what are some authors that have influenced you in your business?
Yeah, so mine, a lot of them are the old school guys out there, the Tom Hopkins of the world, the Zig
Mhm.
Ziglar, I was big into Zig, Roger Dawson
Oh yeah.
for negotiating. Brian Tracy was another one. And I've been listening to a lot of Grant Cardone.
Okay.
He's all in there. He's all about social media, and he built 5 pretty big businesses, and so what he says is good from what I can see.
Yeah, those are all great authors. I think that they've contributed at their own level based on their individual niches, but definitely bring great content.
Right, right. There's a couple other ones. There's one other one it comes to mind is Robert Kiyosaki too. I've learned a
Oh,
lot in
sure.
the real estate world as well.
Right. Excellent. So what does the future hold for you? Dan, any special projects that you're working on?
There are. One big project we're working on right now is after I got done with the Tom Hopkins book with him, we got to know each other, and I got to know his group. And I said, you know what? I think there needs to be something more that we can do together now that we've done this. And he, at the time, announced that he's retiring. So I offered to him to do his life story documentary.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so it's going to be called Master of Sales, and we've been out to Arizona several times already to do some shooting, and I'm hoping it's going to get launched probably within the next month and a half on the outside. But that's been a big endeavor for us, and him and I are partners on that, and yeah, I'm really excited to get this completed because it says so much great information
Mhm.
and old. I have a millennial son that works for me, and it's great listening to him when he hears these closes for the first time, these techniques.
Mhm.
Dad, you got to hear this one. It's fantastic. It really is, because it's so helpful for everybody. So knowing that this is, I just think it'd be something that'd be really great to get in front of people to
Man,
help.
what an opportunity for that project to be able to capture his life, because he had so impact, and as you know, with so many millions of
Oh,
people, but to be able
5 million
to,
people he trained. 5 million. I was like, wow.
yeah, yeah, that's phenomenal. That'll be looking. So is that going to be in a video series, or is it going to be
So far it's one big video. It's a one
okay?
documentary. We're going to shoot to get it into all the major avenues out there. Right now, tomhopkinsdoc.com has a
Hmm.
pretty good overview of what it is, and and how you can participate if someone wanted to be a sponsor or pre-order the DVD that's going to be coming out.
No, excellent.
Mm-hmm.
So if our listeners wanted to connect with you, what's the best way for them to be able to reach out?
Yeah, the best way is just to go to danportik.com, danportik.com, and that has everything that I'm doing right now in my business as well.
Okay, excellent. Well, I'll make sure that link is in the show notes.
Awesome. Thanks.
Very good. Well, thank you, Dan, for being on the show, sharing your strategies, tips, and resources, helping our listeners break through those obstacles and to achieve success.
My pleasure. This has been a great time. Great time doing this.
Yeah, excellent. Enjoyed it as well. Well, this is your host, Warren Wandling, saying, be resilient.